Hi kids, it's Storytime. Storytime is a show brought to you by Lunenburg Public Cable Access, and we read stories for children, and we have a group of about 12 people that come in and read at different times. I'm Uncle Pete, and I read to you once a season. The two stories I'm going to read to you today are two classics. Classic is a story by definition that is so good that it's read to kids after generation and still is interesting to read. The two I'm going to read to you today were read to me by my mom many, many decades ago, and I still enjoy them. The first one is called Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And some of these classics have been reissued. This particular one was retold by Sarah Del Murgy, illustrated by Gavin Scott. It's got some great pictures you can see as I read along. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once upon a time, Goldilocks was playing in the woods near her home. As she skipped along the pebbly path, her golden locks bouncing, Goldilocks suddenly stopped and sniffed the air. A yummy smell was coming from the middle of the wood. As her tummy grumbled loudly, Goldilocks followed the delicious smell. She soon found herself in front of a little house. "I wonder who lives here," she said. So Goldilocks knocked loudly on the front door. But in the last knock, the door swung open. There was no one at home. Goldilocks saw 3 bowls of porridge on the kitchen table. "I'm sure no one will mind if I have a little taste of their porridge," she told herself. So Goldilocks ate a spoonful of porridge from the biggest bowl. "Yuck," she cried. "This porridge is much too cold." Goldilocks tried the middle-sized bowl. "Ah," she gasped, "this porridge is much too hot." Finally, Goldilocks took a little mouthful from the smallest bowl. She sighed, "this porridge is perfect," and she ate it all up. Then Goldilocks went into the living room for a rest. She saw a big chair, a middle-sized chair, and a tiny little chair. Goldilocks climbed onto the biggest chair. "This chair is too big," she said. Next, Goldilocks clambered onto the medium-sized chair. The cushions were very squishy. "This chair is too soft," she cried. Then Goldilocks tried the tiny chair. "This chair is perfect," beamed Goldilocks. She was just getting comfortable when crack, smash! The chair broke into pieces. "Oh no," Goldilocks gasped. "Perhaps I should lie down instead." Upstairs, Goldilocks found a big bed, a medium-sized bed, and a tiny little bed. When she jumped on the big bed, it was too hard. The medium-sized bed was too soft for bouncing, and the little bed was perfect. Goldilocks sighed happily, and the little girl crawled under the covers and fell fast asleep. Meanwhile, 3 hungry bears returned to the little house. They had been for a walk while their porridge had cooled down. But the door was already open, and there were muddy footprints in the hall. "Somebody's been eating my porridge," roared Daddy Bear. "Somebody's been eating my porridge too," growled Mommy Bear. "Look," squeaked Baby Bear, "my porridge is all gone." The 3 bears went into the living room. "Somebody's been sitting in my chair," roared Daddy Bear. "Somebody's been sitting in my chair too," growled Mommy Bear. "Someone's been sitting in my chair," squeaked Baby Bear, "and they've broken it all to pieces." Then suddenly, the 3 bears heard a noise coming from upstairs. Somebody's been sleeping in my bed, roared Daddy Bear as he stepped into the bedroom. Someone's been sleeping in my bed too, growled Mama Bear, strengthening the cover. Somebody's been sleeping in my bed, squeaked Baby Bear. And there she is! Goldilocks woke up with a start and screamed. The three bears watched in surprise as she ran off down the road as fast as her little legs would carry her. And guess what? The three bears never saw Goldilocks again. The second story I want to read you actually is from a movie. It was a cartoon made by Walt Disney back in 1933 and was turned into a book because the movie was so popular. It's called The Three Little Pigs. This particular edition, the Golden Book edition, was illustrated by Walt Disney Studios and adapted by Milt Banta and Al Dempster. And it's all from the movie, the cartoon that Disney put out called The Three Little Pigs. And this is a story every American kid has heard. Once upon a time, how many stories start that way? I don't know why, once upon a time, but that's the way stories start. Once upon a time, there were three little pigs who went out into the big world to build their homes and seek their fortunes. The first little pig did not like to work at all. He quickly built himself a house of straw. Imagine a house built of straw. Cows would eat it. Then off he danced down the road to see how his brothers were getting along. As he danced, he sang, I built my house of straw. I built my house of hay. I toot my flute. I don't give a hoot, and I play around all day. The second little pig was building himself a house, too. He did not like to work any better than his brother, so he decided to build a quick and easy house of sticks. Soon it was finished, too. It was not a very strong little house, but at least the work was done. Now the second little pig was free to do what he liked. What he liked to do was to play his fiddle and dance. So while the first little pig tooted his flute, the second little pig sawed away on his fiddle, dancing as he played. And as he danced, he sang, I built my house of sticks. I built my house of twigs. With a hey diddle diddle, I play on my fiddle and dance all kinds of jigs. Then off danced the two little pigs down the road together to see how their brother was getting along. The third little pig was a sober little pig. That means he's really serious. He was building a house too, but he was building his of bricks. He didn't mind hard work. He wanted a stout, strong little house. But he knew in the woods nearby, there lived a big, bad wolf who liked nothing better than to catch little pigs and eat them up. So slap, slosh, slap, away he worked, laying bricks and smoothing mortar between them. Laughed the first little pig when he saw his brother hard at work. Ho, 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 laughed the second little pig. Come down and play with us, he called. But the busy little pig did not pause. Slap, slosh, went the bricks on mortar as he called down to them. I built my house of stones. I built my house of bricks. I have no chance to sing and dance, to work and play don't mix. Laughed the two lazy little pigs, dancing along to the tune of the fiddle and the flute. You can laugh and dance and sing, their busy brother called after them, but I'll be safe and you'll be sorry when the wolf comes to your door. Laughed the two little pigs again, and they disappeared into the woods, singing a merry tune. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? The big bad wolf, the big bad wolf. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Tra-la-la-la-la. Just as the first pig reached his door, out of the woods popped the big bad wolf. The little pig squealed with fright and slammed the door. Little pig, "Little pig, let me come in," cried the wolf. "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," said the little pig. "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in," roared the wolf. And he did, and he blew the little straw house all to pieces. Away raced the little pig to his brother's house of sticks. No sooner was he in the door when knock, 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 there was the big bad wolf. But of course the little pigs would not let him come in. "I'll fool those little pigs," chuckled the big bad wolf to himself. Then he said out loud, "Those little pigs are too smart for me. I'm going home." He started off toward the deep woods, but he did not go far. He hid behind a big tree. Soon the door opened, and the two little pigs peeked out. There was no wolf in sight. "Ha, ha, ha, ho, ho, ho," laughed the two little pigs. "We fooled him." And they danced around the room singing gaily, "Who's afraid of the big bad wolf, the big bad wolf, the big bad wolf? Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la, hee-hee-hee." Soon there came another knock at the door. It was the big bad wolf again, but he had covered himself with a sheepskin and was curled up in a big basket looking like a little lamb. "Who's there?" called the second little pig. "I'm a poor little sheep with no place to sleep. Please open the door and let me in," said the big bad wolf in his sweetest little voice. The little pig peeked through a crack of the door, and he could see the wolf's big black paws and large sharp fangs. "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. You can't fool us with that sheepskin," said the second little pig. "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in," cried the angry old wolf. And he huffed, and he puffed, and he huffed, and he puffed, and he blew the little twig house all to pieces, and away raced the two little pigs straight to the third little pig's house of bricks. "Don't worry," said the third little pig to his two frightened little brothers. "You are safe here." And soon they were all singing gaily. This made the big bad wolf perfectly furious. "Now by the hair of my chinny chin chin," he roared, "I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in." So the big bad wolf huffed, and he puffed, and he puffed, and he huffed, but he could not blow down that little house of bricks. How could he get in? And he looked up at the roof, and he saw the chimney. So he climbed up quietly. Then with a snarl, he jumped right into a kettle of boiling water. With a yelp of pain, he sprang straight up the chimney again and raced away from that little house as fast as he could go. And the three little pigs spent their time in the strong little brick house, singing and dancing merrily, and the big bad wolf never came back again. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf, the big bad wolf, the big bad wolf? Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Not us, tra-la-la-la. See you next season, folks. Hope your children like that story. This is Uncle Pete saying so long for now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Betsy Masciarelli. I'm a school teacher. I teach 4th grade, and so today I chose just a couple of my favorites for you. So I'm going to start with Giraffes Can't Dance. It's by Giles Andre. He's the author, and the illustrator is Guy Parker Rees, one of my favorites. Giraffes Can't Dance. Gerald was a tall giraffe whose neck was long and slim, but his knees were awfully bandy and his legs were rather thin. He was very good at standing still and munching shoots off the trees. But when he tried to run around, he buckled at the knees. Now, every year in Africa, they hold the jungle dance, where every single animal turns up to skip and prance. And this year, when the day arrived, poor Gerald felt so sad because when it came to dancing, he was really very bad. I'm not a bad dancer. I'm a good dancer. The warthogs started waltzing, and the rhinos rock and rolled. The lions danced a tango, which was elegant and bold. The chimps all did a cha-cha with a very Latin feel, and 8 baboons then teamed up for a splendid Scottish reel. Gerald swallowed bravely as he walked towards the floor, but the lions saw him coming, and they soon began to roar. "Hey, look at clumsy Gerald," the animals all laughed. "Giraffes can't dance, you silly fool. Oh, Gerald, don't be a daft." Can you imagine? Oh, how he's feeling. Oh. Gerald simply froze up. He was rooted to the spot. "They're right," he thought. "I'm useless. Oh, I feel like such a clot." So he crept off the dance floor and he started walking home. He'd never felt so sad before, so sad and so alone. I remember when I felt that way. Yeah. Then he found a little clearing and he looked up at the sky. "The moon can be so beautiful," he whispered with a sigh. "Excuse me," coughed a cricket, who'd seen Gerald earlier on, "but sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song." Huh. So it's okay to be different, maybe just a different song. Huh. Listen to the swaying grass and listen to the trees. To me, the sweetest music is those branches in the breeze. So imagine that lovely moon is playing just for you. Everything makes music if you really want it to. It's true. With that, the cricket smiled and picked up his violin. Then Gerald felt his body do the most amazing thing. His hooves started shuffling, making circles on the ground. His neck was gently swaying, and his tail was swishing round. He's dancing. He threw his arms out sideways, and he swung them everywhere. Then he did a backward somersault and leaped up in the air. Whew, my goodness. Gerald felt so wonderful. His mouth was open wide. "I'm dancing, yes, I'm dancing, I am dancing," Gerald cried. He's not sad anymore. Then one by one, each animal who'd been there at the dance arrived while Gerald boogied on and watched him quite entranced. They shouted, "It's a miracle! We must be in a dream. Gerald's the best dancer that we've ever seen." "How is it you can dance like that? Please, Gerald, tell us how." But Gerald simply twizzled around and finished with a bow. Twizzled around. Sometimes I make mistakes when I read. But Gerald simply twizzled round and then he finished with a bow. Then he raised his head up and he looked up at the moon and the stars above. "We all can dance," he said, "when we find music that we love." So just because he's different doesn't mean he couldn't dance, right? He just needed the right music. He didn't give up. He persisted. Ah, we're all different. Okay, so I love that one. My next one is, what do you do with an idea? I wish I had this book when I was little. What do you do with an idea? It's written by Kobe Yamada, and it's illustrated by May Bissom. It's a New York Times bestseller. It's just beautiful. What do you do with an idea? I wonder what this one. One day, I had an idea. Where did it come from? Why is it here? I wondered, what do you do with an idea? Sometimes you just don't know, right? At first, I didn't think much of it. It seemed kind of strange and fragile. I didn't know what to do with it. So I just walked away from it. I acted like it didn't belong to me. Sometimes you get those ideas and you're like, whatever. I don't know what to do. But it followed me. I worried what others would think. Oh, sometimes I always do that. I worry, what are they going to think? What would people say about my idea? So I just kept it to myself. I hid it away. I didn't talk about it. I tried to act like everything was the same as it was before my idea even showed up. Not paying attention. But there was something magical about my idea. I had to admit, I felt better and happier when it was around. Maybe starting to think it's a good idea. It wanted food, it wanted to play. Actually, it wanted a lot of attention. It's personification, right? An idea, it's making it seem like a person. It grew bigger. And you know what? We became friends. Really starting to like his idea. I showed it to other people, even though I was kind of afraid of what they would say. I was afraid that if people saw it, they would laugh at it. I was afraid they would think that it was silly. Many of them did. They said, oh, it's no good. They said it was too weird. They said it was a waste of time and that it would never, ever become anything. And at first I believed them. I actually thought about giving up on my idea. I almost listened to them. But then I realized, what do they really know? This is my idea, I thought. No one knows it like I do. And it's okay if it's different and it's weird and maybe even a little crazy. So I decided to protect it, to care for it. I fed it good food. I worked with it. I played with it. But most of all, I gave it my attention. My idea grew, and it grew, and grew, and so did my love for it. I built it a new house, one with an open roof, where it could look up at the stars, a place where it could be safe to dream. I liked being with my idea. It made me feel more alive, like I could do anything. It encouraged me to think big, and then to think bigger. It shared its secrets with me. It showed me how to walk on my hands because it said, it is too good to have the ability. It said, you know how I make mistakes? I just read over. It said, it is good to have the ability to see things differently. I always make mistakes. I couldn't imagine my life without it. Then one day, something amazing happened. My idea changed right before my very eyes. It spread its wings, took flight, and it burst into the sky. I don't know how to describe it, but it went from being here to being everywhere. It wasn't just a part of me anymore. It was now a part of everything. And then I realized, what do you do with an idea? You change the world. So I guess it's just never give up, right? Just that persistence, keep persisting and just never give up. You can change the world. Thanks for having me.